Hey, I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to share some fun and really helpful ideas for helping your students learn to identify main idea and key details, which can be a pretty tricky skill, especially for primary students. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to do that now and hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I post a brand new video about teaching literacy in K2. Okay, so let's start with some kid-friendly definitions of main idea and detail. So number one, main idea is the big idea, the big point the story is trying to make, or what the author wants you to remember the most after you're done reading. Those are all good ways of explaining main idea. Those are several different ways, so just kind of consolidate that into one, something that makes sense to your students. So that's main idea. And then with details, the details tell the reader a little bit more about the main idea. So they are related to the main idea. Now, even if you've very clearly explained main idea in detail, this skill can still be super tricky for students, like I said. Have you ever, number one, asked students to identify a main idea and then gotten a really random response? Or have you gotten a response that is one tiny part of the text, but clearly not the most important? Just type yes in the comments if you've ever had one of those experiences or just gotten something way off base for the main idea from your students. This skill is tricky. So when we're teaching main idea, it can actually be a little bit easier to start with informational text. We do want to practice it with both fiction and nonfiction, but in my mind, informational text is a really good place to start. Just a couple of tips before we get into specific strategies. You can start with shorter passages, literally just a paragraph of text that you read aloud to the kids. So there's no decoding work for them. Their job is just to comprehend. Or maybe you just do an article and then eventually you move on to a whole book. It can really help to start small and then build from there. Okay, so let's get into some specific strategies that you can use when you're teaching main idea in detail. Number one, I'm actually going to draw you an example. We want to start with some kind of visual anchor chart to help explain main idea and details to your kids. And remember, we talked about those kid-friendly definitions. I'm not going to do the whole anchor chart here, just in the interest of time, but you would want to incorporate those definitions somewhere on your chart. So you could do something for example, an ice cream cone, right? The main idea is the base of everything. Please forgive my poor drawing and handwriting. And then for example, we might have, scoops. This does not look like a scoop, but you get what I'm trying to do here. And then these are the details, right? And the details all add up to the main idea. Detail, detail, detail. Okay? So I'm sure yours will be much cuter than mine will be. You could do pizza, right? You could do a tree. You could do an umbrella. Just something visual to kind of show them what main idea is. And I like the ice cream cone because it's these scoops are important, but if they don't have the main idea as the basis, then your ice cream is going to fall off, right? So again, I'm sure you'll make something cuter than I will, but that is tip number one or strategy number one. Strategy number two is encourage students to play detective and search for clues. So you can make this fun by adding silly detective hats, magnifying glasses, and then you could, also incorporate specific strategy work like having them reread the title, reread the first and last sentences of the text. Those are really good ones. Reread the headings or the subheadings. Sometimes you can literally come up with the main idea just from reading the first line, the last line, and the subheadings. Of course, we want them to read the whole thing, but those are good clues. They can look at why did the author use certain images or pictures, depending on what's in the text. And then are there certain words that are repeated or bolded? Those might have something to do with the main idea. So just like a detective, A detective is going to have a lot of clues, and the detective's job is to figure out which clues are important, which clues are the most important, so they can like sift through all of this information and from there use their detective skills to figure out what the main idea and most important details are. Okay, moving right along to strategy number 3. Strategy number 3 is to incorporate graphic organizers, and I actually have a couple here to show you. So like this is a very basic, this actually comes from my Decodable Safari text for kindergarten, and the kids would have just read about camels, and then they have these little things to cut out at the bottom, and one of them is, you know, like the main idea, obviously a kindergarten friendly or a very basic form of main idea, camel, right? And then here are the details. So what I like about this graphic organizer is that the kids are not yet asked to write out or identify main idea in detail. They're actually just sorting. Here's the main idea. Here are the details. This is a really good place to start. It doesn't even have to be something like this. You could literally just write on the board, okay, I'm going to write 3 details in the main idea. You have to tell me which ones are the details and which one is the main idea and why. So you're kind of modeling, you're giving them examples, right? But then they're still having to do the work of, okay, which one is the main idea? So this is a really good place to start. Now, eventually you'll want them to actually be, you know, writing the main idea and details. And for this one, the topic is already identified, leopard. And then they are writing like 3 most important details from the Decodable Safari text that they read about leopards. So your graphic organizers don't have to be this fancy either, right? You could literally do the ice cream cone, something that they have to write in. You could do like, I mean, I have done like a web, right? Like you could do a circle in the middle, and then here are the 3. So this would be the main idea up here, and then the details would go here. You could do something very simple, but I feel like that visual organizer is really helpful in getting them to understand what it is, and then also when they're practicing, giving them, you know, just some sort of structure, as opposed to having them write like a paragraph about main idea in detail. Like eventually we do want them to do that, but it can be helpful to start with a graphic organizer first, or if you do want them to write, have them put it in a graphic organizer and then write it out. Now, you may do all of this and you may do all of it repeatedly and your kids might still be struggling. This is normal. This is like complex stuff. I literally remember when I was taking the SATs as a high school student, I like struggled with figuring out what the main idea was. The texts were more complicated, right? This is just a challenging skill. So if your kids are struggling, not to worry, totally understandable. So try to make it more fun, right? We looked at some of these Decodable Safari examples. That's one thing you can do. Try to make it more obvious. So like you choose the text where the first or last sentence very clearly like states what the main idea is, or choose ones that have headings that like make it easy for them to understand what the main idea is. So be very intentional about your text choice. Differentiate. Remember, you know, some of your kids might just need to like cut and paste main idea or tell you, okay, this one is the main idea, while others can actually write it out. So differentiate as needed, have them work with a partner. You could also play a game called Which One Doesn't Belong or Odd One Out, and you name a main idea and details, and then like, I don't know, 3 of the details are accurate and then one of them doesn't belong. So like if the main idea is something about pizza, then you put 3 details in there that are about pizza, and then another one is about tacos. So they have to find the odd one out. So all of these activities can just help them build up to the eventual skill of them being able to identify the main idea and details and possibly write about it as well. Okay, if you need some more specific lesson plans on teaching main idea and details, I will include a link along with this video so you can click that and learn more about specific lesson plans for this. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.